Thank you. I'm really happy to be back at IIEX. It feels like home. Like this is the place for innovation in our industry. And we've been here from the beginning. I'm thrilled to see everybody back in person. If you are using the headphones to listen to us, I would encourage you to come over to the blue stage in the back left-hand corner of the space. We're going to show some really compelling video to go along with this voiceover that I'm going to provide. Just as a preview, we're going to be we're going to be showing the moment-by-moment emotional reaction to Will Smith's Oscar slap incident and how it changed the non-conscious mind towards Will Smith's reputation. We're going to show you a really edgy Snickers ad. You won't want to miss that video. We're going to show you some really disgusting content put out by Uber Eats. I mean, it evokes the emotion disgust. And then we're going to finish off by showing you some authentic inclusivity efforts by Whole Logic and understanding the emotional impact and what drives perceptions of diverse, equitable, and inclusive brands. So from a behavioral science perspective, where did this all begin? It started with the central limit theorem. I don't know if you remember this. Gallup, 1936, in political polling. Gallup showed that a small representative sample of voters was more predictive of a straw poll of millions of voters who are non-representative of the population. It was a better predictor of the political outcome, and that's really where we started to get the idea of representative sampling and apply it to business. The central limit theorem, political polling, 1936. So we took it and we said, let's apply it to everything. Like that likelihood of who you're going to vote for became, let's ask a likelihood to purchase question. Let's ask a stated importance question. How important are these different drivers to you? Regardless of whether people could tell you or not, we felt like if we asked the question and collected the data on a representative sample, it would project out to the general population. But what's actually projecting out to the general population? What you have is a projection of what the general population will say. Do you have a projection of what the general population will do? Not necessarily. Behavior is different from an expressed attitude in a survey. I don't know if you remember this, but in the 90s there was a big debate over derived versus stated importance. Papers were being published. We were trying to make the argument that derived importance was more predictive than stated importance, and it was, for good reason. But what was the data we were modeling? It was conscious data. I don't know if you remember this, the rise of choice modeling used to be done by paper and sent through the mail. Online methods allowed us to accelerate the development of that research data collection technique. It was derived data. But again, it was based on hyper-rationalized choice scenarios. So it was only part of the picture. Bill Clinton in the 1992 and 1996 elections started to use the scientific process for message testing, assigning people to different groups and exposing them to different messages, and then seeing which of those messages produced the better outcome. But what were his outcome measures? Explicit statements about whether you would vote for Bill Clinton or not. And we know what explicit statements about who you will vote for really mean in today's world. They're not necessarily predictive of who you actually vote for. I'll keep going. This is a qualitative injection into the quantitative time frame. Jerry Zaltman published How Customers Think, and he eviscerated this notion of likelihood to purchase being a good measure. I don't know if you remember this data point from that book, but he showed that among all of the people who said they were very or extremely likely to buy a product, likelihood to purchase question, only 18% of them actually did do that. And that's coming from the qualitative side of research and saying, look, you need to have a better understanding of what's truly driving people, not simply ask them what they're going to do in the future. That's not predictive. Then comes online sampling. This changed the research world. This allowed us to do so much more than what we were able to do on telephone or in mail surveys. We could present different kinds of stimulus. We could collect data faster. It allowed us to get more data, better data on people in a faster period of time. E-commerce and A/B testing. A/B testing is essentially automated behavioral science. It gives you a very good read of what will happen. It doesn't tell you why, and it's also extremely expensive to do. You don't think of it that way, but when you do A/B testing, you're essentially casting your ideas into the actual market, and you're spending the difference between your better idea and your worse idea as an expense to find out which one is better. If you had predictive tech that could tell you that before you went into market, you wouldn't have to lose those 10, 20,000 sales that you lost in your A/B test just to find out what was predictive. Keep going, we found out that emotion is actually quantifiable. That used to be an oxymoron, but we could quantify emotion. And if you added it to conscious data points, you're able to more accurately predict what people would do. Then it starts to accelerate. Implicit measures of the non-conscious mind move from the lab to the laptop to mobile devices. Donald Trump showed us that political polling, opinion polling, again, was not predictive of what the actual behavior was going to be in the ballot booth. And then investment in research technology platforms really blossomed. We saw Qualtrics get valued at $9 billion. We saw investments go into online sample automation and programmatic sampling. You just heard about the deal between Lucid and Cint for $1 billion on that automated platform. Pure Spectrum entered the market, automating access to humans who would be able to come into your surveys. This opened up the research world to automatic insight into human behavior. Then 2020 happened. Everything shut down, right? Ah! Is that a good emotional expression for the beginning of 2020? But now here we are on the other side of it, right? And what has come out of 2020? Automated behavioral science insights platforms emerge. That is not simply the automation of conscious questions that are not predictive of future behavior. This is automation of the scientific method, both conscious and non-conscious measures integrated to provide you deeper, more accurate insight delivered in an online immersive environment. That's the behavioral scientist's perspective on the history of quantitative behavioral research. Why are we turning to quantitative behavioral science research? Part of the reason why we're moving towards these non-conscious measures is because the limitations of traditional research measures aren't meeting our needs of today. It's hard to predict what will happen in an uncertain future if you're using only reason-based conscious data from the past. Our industry does not understand at a deep level how to get an accurate read on how people feel and why. The two essential ingredients for empathy, how people truly feel, and their cognitive antecedents, the why. We don't understand how to really measure those and deliver them in our products, in our brands, in our packaging. What are we doing now? What is an automated behavioral science platform? It's moving into an emotionally immersive experience where you're not just looking at a single data point, you're examining the emotional journey of a consumer. Here it is within ad testing. You can see moment by moment the emotional reaction, not through questions, through observation of the body, the face, behavior. And you're able to understand and cut that data by changes in the non-conscious mind. I'll give you an example of two different platforms that measure these non-conscious factors automatically and deliver the insights into platforms. This first one, Ascension Prime. If you've been at IIEX, you've seen this for over 10 years, I guess now, and now that we're in our 10th year. This has 1.5 billion measures of the subconscious in its database. It measures the automatic emotional response to brands, to products, to packaging without asking any explicit questions. This is the kind of behavioral science technology that is now into our industry. It's been patented. These kinds of techniques are being automated and being put into the hands of any researcher who wants to understand the implicit response to their products, to their brands. Couple that implicit response of the non-conscious mind with moment-by-moment emotional data captured automatically through webcam and opt-in on your face and in your body to give us indications of how you're feeling. If we combine those two technologies, what's happening in your non-conscious mind with what you're expressing on your face and in your body, we have insight into the two essential elements for empathy. How you're truly feeling, your emotional expressions, and why, the cognitive antecedents of those emotions. So to illustrate the power of this technology, let's start with something that was very emotional. If we can't predict the behavior, if we can't capture emotion in this moment, we better hang it up, right? This was an incredibly emotional moment. Opinions on this, let's go back to opinions, were really separated. Some people really thought one thing, and some people really thought another. I don't want to get into that debate. I just want to show you the actual emotional response of two groups of people. The first one will be the US general population, and then we'll show you the impact of this moment on perceptions of Will Smith and Will Smith's brand. So I mentioned this is automated behavioral science. What we're going to show you is pre-post change in attitude towards Will Smith, measured before the showing of this video, measured after. So we have causal attribution of change in perceptions to exposure to the video. We're also capturing moment by moment the emotional reaction. We're then going to cut that emotional reaction by the change in the non-conscious mind. So you can see how people whose mind changed non-consciously experience the moment and reveal the emotional moments that are related to that change in their implicit mind. Okay, here is, first of all, the pre-post change in perceptions of Will Smith. This index score starts at 100. That's essentially neutral. Below 100 is non-associated. Above 100 is associated with Will Smith. Before seeing this, index score of 120. After seeing this, an index score of 112. So I'm going to show you a series of those. Will Smith is seen as less funny after that incident. Not surprising. Will Smith is seen as less strong. Remember, this is quantitative data, so that's significant differences with the asterisks that you can see. Will Smith is seen as less stable after a single viewing of this. Maybe that's not surprising. What about negative emotions? Negative attributes. Will Smith is seen as more scary. Will Smith is seen as shameful, more shameful and shameful. And Will Smith is seen as more disgusting. So, opinions aside, US general population, this is definitive evidence that this moment is not good for Will Smith's reputation. Can we understand the moments that drove that change in implicit attitude? This line is going to show you live, it's going to show you moment by moment the emotional reaction as captured on the face for two groups of people. The solid line is the US general population. The dashed line are the people whose non-conscious mind changed. You follow me? These aren't people who didn't like Will Smith ahead of time. These are the people who implicitly feel more negative about Will after this incident. Go back and cut the data to understand the emotional moments that are related to that attitude change. Automated behavioral science, no questions, nobody's opinion, just data on behavior. Oh, gotta play that one.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
I think we blurred that in your audio, the profanity. Hopefully we tested it with the profanity. So interestingly, you see an immediate emotional reaction to the slap, but people don't know what's going on, right? Is this real? What's happening? Is this an act? The emotion starts to rise again, and then really when does it crater? When Will starts swearing. And you can feel the emotion and the intention and the seriousness in his voice. It's not a joke. No joke. That's the moment where really felt that. And the emotional experience was even more pronounced among people whose non-conscious mind changed. This is a new world for insights. We're capturing change in the non-conscious mind, and we're showing you the emotional moments that are related to that change. If you weren't into reputation management, but let's say you were into advertising, and you wanted to understand how your video content affected the attitudes of people, and if maybe you were evoking evoking positive or negative emotions that you didn't want to. You could use that same technology to understand it. Here's Uber Eats, don't eat.
Wait, if it was delivered with Uber Eats, does that mean I can eat it?
It says eat.
It's a diaper. This tastes bad.
This candle tastes funny.
I couldn't eat it.
Not bad, but funny.
And thanks to Uber Eats, we don't even know what food is anymore.
This isn't food.
We can't eat most of this.
Yeah, we can't eat any of this.
Why Uber Eats? Why Uber Eats?
That bag's a liar.
Yeah, I just got so excited.
Platform in the world, the largest audience, a single sitting, to spend 60 seconds associating disgust with its brand and pointing out that its name doesn't make any sense for what it's actually delivering. Now, sorry, but look at that line among the people who have less appeal for the Uber Eats brand after watching this. That decline in positive emotion looks an awful lot like the Will Smith slap, right? It's not as drastic. But if you had that insight, what's the moment that delivers that? Can shout out over you. It's Gwyneth. It's the kitty litter followed by Gwyneth eating that candle. The general population is disgusted by that moment. If that's your 60, first of all, get it out of your 60, but certainly don't put it in your 30, right? And that insight you can now get in automated behavioral science in 24 hours. The world of insights has changed. Automated behavioral science, let's see it work in a different direction. Has anybody seen the Snickers ad that just came out? Watch this. Oh my goodness, talk about edgy. Here we go. Let's play the ad to begin with.
All right, game.
Hey, do you guys want to do a little swap?
I mean, yeah, I could be into it. Would I like move in with Tyler, or is it just more, one time casual thing?
I was talking about switching up teams for fun.
Of course. Whose turn is it anyway?
Tyler's, apparently.
The theme is consistent with what they're trying to do, right? For those moments, the unfiltered moments, but that unfiltered moment, oh my goodness, was it good for the brand? Here's what social media said. People had a lot of opinions about it. It's hilarious. It'll have you totally cringing. Now I'm pissed off. I can't believe Snickers made an ad about swinging. Once again, Snickers is tapping into the notion that you aren't yourself when you're hungry. Was that good for the brand or not? What do you think? Let me show you the moment-by-moment emotional reaction. People do think Snickers is funnier. They do think it's less delicious, though still quite delicious. And they think it's more relatable. Interesting. If you're just relying on people's opinions, would you get that same result? These two lines now are the overall general population and the viewers who have more implicit appeal towards Snickers after watching. If you had this insight, you might actually run the ad. Watch that lower line. They go on a deeper emotional journey. That's emotional engagement with your content.
Hey, do you guys want to do a little swap?
The actress delivers these lines really well. And
Yeah,
right
I
at the
could be into
punchline,
it.
you're going to see a change. Among the people who have more appeal for your brand, your punchline lands more emotionally. That's evidence that this is actually potentially good for your brand. If you want to see the full results, come see us at booth 13 and we'll dig into that data. Difficult one to analyze. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'd love to have any of your questions after the show. Thank you very much.